Wonderful. So, Michelle, Chris, glad to meet you and thank you for participating and answering for the request. Could you please say a few words about yourself?
Go ahead.
So thank you all for coming today, and we look forward to hearing your questions and doing our best to answer them. I'm Michelle. I'm 39, I think.
Yes.
I was born in 1982. I don't care how old I am. And Chris and I have been married since 2008. We have 3 children, ages 6, 8, and 11. And we live in Barrhaven in Ottawa. I've been a high school teacher for 15 years, but this year I am selling real estate houses, and I've taken a break from teaching, and so has my husband. Next year we're both going back to teaching. I'll continue in real estate as well. And a bit about me, I like being active. I like doing outdoor sports, and I love my husband. And I like knowing my neighbors, so that's how we know Vlad, because he lives on our street. That's a bit about me.
Yeah, so my name is Chris. I grew up in Scarborough, which is a eastern suburb of Toronto, one of the bigger cities in Canada, in Ontario. And I moved up to Ottawa to go to teachers college to become a teacher. And I met Michelle there, and I never left. So that's how I got to Ottawa. I've enjoyed the city ever since, and I'm kind of looking forward to hearing some of your stories in a year or so to find out where you landed and how things turned out for you guys as well. So I hope to connect with you guys again.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think the next turn, it would be some general overview of the Ottawa market, real estate market, and maybe some general understanding of what's going on in terms of rental. You saw the questions, and maybe you have something that you would like to cover in general before we will dive into details.
Sure. So real estate in Canada has seen a very sharp increase in prices in the last 2 years since COVID. So buying homes in Canada, home prices have increased in the major cities about 40% or more, depending on what you're looking at. But rental rates right now, rental rates have not gone up as much as buying houses has gone up. So in Ottawa right now, for like a 3-bedroom townhome, in most of the locations in Ottawa, you're looking at sort of around $2,000 to $2,500 a month in the suburbs. Obviously, if you're closer to the downtown core or you're in one of the high affluent areas, then it will be more expensive. If you're looking for a very low income rental, you can find something closer to $1,300 to $1,400 a month, but that you're looking more at like a condominium or an apartment building. And then if you're looking at a single family home, you're maybe thinking about $2,300 to $2,700 a month more if it's a larger place, 4-bedroom double garage. Someone had a good question on the chat about these homes that they can find on realtor.ca for like $20,000 to sort of $80,000. And they said they look like a good home from the outside. Those are mobile homes. So that's like having a trailer. It's very similar to having a camping trailer that you can pull behind your car, but these ones are a little bit bigger. So it's a modular home that's just placed on the ground. And so the heating systems won't be the same. So it could be quite cold in the winter. And also you don't own the land. So whereas a house, you're buying a house, you own the piece of land that it's on. For most mobile homes, you're just buying the actual structure and the land that it's on belongs to an association called a trailer park. And so the trailer parks will charge you money for that rental of that land. So some of them, I think I gave one example here. I'm not sure if I put it in the notes, but you could be paying $400 a month to the association to rent being on that space. So you might be paying $80,000 for the mobile home, but then you have a fee as well. But it would be a place to live. It could be very cold in the winter, and your resale value is not guaranteed because it's like having a car as opposed to having a house. So instead of something that increases in value, it's something that's going to depreciate in value. And some mobile trailer parks, they actually have rules that your home has to be within the last 20 years. And then after it gets 20 years old, you have to get rid of it and put a new one. So that's
as a temporary solution. If that's where you're stuck, it's not a bad,
yeah,
it's not a long term.
So most people in Canada will rent instead of buying a mobile home. Also, they tend to be further out on the city. So I looked yesterday for anything under 100,000 in the Ottawa Real Estate Board, which includes a very large territory that spans almost a 2 to 3 hour stretch. And so anything that was in a mobile home, I think there were 4 properties on the market right now, and they were about an hour and a half outside of Ottawa. So that's considered a pretty far drive. And then also the type of residence that you get, someone said, like, well, you have drug dealers as your neighbors. Maybe not drug dealers, but likely drug users. So would you say about the same?
Yeah, there are probably people on social assistance that aren't working, and yeah.
It's not going to help your social network to be in a mobile home. So most people will choose to rent somewhere instead.
And you said that it's very cold, cold outside. We know what is it? The weather in Ukraine almost the same as Ottawa. So not a surprise here. What is cold inside the house? 0 Celsius, +10, -10, -30.
I've never lived in a mobile home, but I know that the insulation wouldn't be nearly as good as a regular house. So it'd be like living in a trailer, essentially.
I would venture a guess that it would be above freezing.
Oh yeah.
So, but in the middle of the winter, maybe
you'd pay a lot in gas.
Pay a lot for heating.
Yeah.
So the other thing too is that people who are coming to Ottawa, you may find that on Kijiji, you can find a rental where you're just renting 2 rooms in a house where there are maybe 5 rooms where you share a kitchen space. And so that type of rental, you might be able to find 2 rooms for $500, $800. And I think that the key part when you're coming here is that people are always, landlords who are renting out, they are in the habit of asking for credit checks and for pay stubs showing how much money you make. And those things are going to be difficult. But since you won't have those things, telling them honestly, straight up, that you are coming from Ukraine, telling them what your profession was, anything that you have that shows that you have some financial ability to pay rent for a year, those things are good to show up front, because they will have leniency knowing the situation you're coming from, and it also gives some credibility, as opposed to someone who has been living in Canada who has a bad credit score. Those people will not have an easy time finding rentals. So you should bring what you can to prepare, but definitely be honest that you're from Ukraine, because it will help. Since you don't have a credit score, you might as well let them know the whole situation.
Max speaking. Is the I don't know, last year bank statement enough for them? if it is like pretty good amount of money?
Yes, usually you're looking at the last 2 months of pay stubs. Obviously, the situation is different for everyone. You guys are coming here, you maybe lost your jobs from being displaced from Ukraine. Maybe you have a job online, but possibly not. But then you might have some savings that you're using. So if you have pay stubs showing the money that you have made over a year, that is stronger than just the last 2 months. All of your situations will be different. Some of you might have some bank account statements that if you're able to show those to prospective landlords, those might be able to help. And looking on Kijiji and Facebook Marketplace are good places to look as well. I know that there will, like, as families reach out to say, yes, I want to come, but I'm looking for a family to live with for a little while I get settled. Then if that's the situation that you're in, then we can connect you with people from different churches. And also the government has a website as well where some Canadian families reach out to say, I want to host a Ukrainian family. So those are some different options as well. And what are there some questions that I missed about real estate? Oh, so some of it was about the safety. And Vlad, are you going to share the document with everybody?
Yes, yes.
I don't know if you want to copy it and post.
Doing this, is it available by link? Only people, you have to share it available by the link. It might be done only by owner.
Yeah, oh, okay, great, because I created the document. Can you, Chris,
Sure.
do you want to?
While you're sharing, guys, I've heard about the situation when people just asking for pay for 6 months in advance, where you're starting renting without a credit score or something like that. Is that, the normal proper situation in Canada? You get used to that, or is something, new to you? I don't know.
The proper way to do it in Canada is that you're only supposed to ask for 2 months of deposit.
It's actually illegal to ask for
Yeah.
more than first and last month's rent. So the last month's rent is really a security deposit. And then the first month's rent is one that can be paid in advance. Anything more than that is actually legal for the landlord to ask for.
Mm-hmm. Now, it doesn't mean that it's not something that you might offer and write into the agreement, but they shouldn't be requiring you to have that. So if the landlord right off the bat is saying, I want all your money up front, then they don't know the tenancy rules or they're willing to go past them. Maybe keep looking, but for different options. But as a tenant, if you're offering it, then that's a better situation than if the landlord is requiring it. So if it's something that you want to offer and the landlord feels comfortable accepting that, and you feel comfortable with the landlord to give all that money up front, then that's the decision that you'll have to make with the landlord.
I think the only reason you would do that is if you're having a lot of trouble finding housing and securing housing because you don't have a credit history, but that's not typical here. Yeah.
So I would try first. I would try to find some housing without first offering all your money up front.
Mm-hmm. And I should mention that different provinces have different laws about this. So in Ontario, that's one situation, and in Quebec, it's a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So take this in mind.
Yeah. And there are other situations in Quebec that are very different. The cost of daycare is a lot less expensive in Quebec. The quality of the daycare is not as good, but we're talking about the difference between, I think, $7 or $10 a day in Quebec. Is that right?
Yeah, $10 a day.
$10 a day versus $40 to $80 a day, depending on what center you're looking at in Ottawa. But then there's home daycare options as well in Ottawa.
And,
What else on real estate? So, and real estate, when you're buying a home, usually banks are looking for between 5 and 20% down payment. If you look at 20% down payment, then you don't have to put down mortgage insurance. But then again, all of the mortgage calculations for interest rates that the bank will give you are usually based on Equifax credit checks. So one of the things that I put on the list here, the very first thing you want to do when you come to Canada is get a credit card in Canada and make big purchases within your means and pay off the credit card right away so that you can start building a good credit score.
So shopping remotely for housing, Vlad was mentioning how it might not look the same in person as in.
One moment.
Yeah.
Sorry, I would like to add to the previous sentence about kindergartens. This is different systems in each province, and all of them are different to Ukraine. And for example, in Ontario, if you have children that is will become 5 years old in this year, this is fine to participate a free school. So you have to pay only if you have kids who will not have 5 years in this year.
That's right. Yeah. So if your child is turning 5 before December 31st, then that year they are in school and it is free.
And school starts in September.
Yeah.
And schools, they are different to Ukrainian schools. They are very soft in terms of education until maybe 7th grade. So if do not expect that starting from 5 years it will become advanced math and quantum physics. No, it will be just arts, dance, and social interactions, something that we more expected for kindergarten, not from the school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the first 2 years, our kindergarten years, they're considered play-based learning. So it's all centers where they play. So they'll learn the alphabet, but they won't be taught how to read. Reading gets taught in grade 1. So the year that your child turns 7, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And but then our daughter who's in grade 5, so she's doing algebra and math. And they will do programming, computer programming in grade 5 as well. So different skills.
So if I can veer off a little bit, I see a couple of questions in the chat. So I can't pronounce that name, but about medical insurance, how do we pronounce that name?
Ilya.
Ilya. Okay. Can you advise some medical insurance companies? So the provincial plan.
Hello.
Hi.
Ilya?
It's not Ilya, it's his mother. He used my Zoom for his school. Okay. Yeah, my name is Tatiana. Excuse me, I didn't add the name.
Oh, no problem.
Yes, we have 2 children, and it's important to have dentist insurance. And as far as I know, it's very expensive if we don't have any insurance.
Yeah. So usually you would have, well, the basic OHIP coverage, the Ontario Health Insurance Plan, would cover any trips to the hospital, that kind of thing. But if you have to be admitted to the hospital and have a private accommodation, or if you want dental coverage, those types of coverages come from extra insurance that you would typically get from a job. So a job would have medical benefits, they call them. And then if you wanted to pay for that separately, it is quite expensive. So like Michelle and I said earlier, we've taken the year away from teaching. So that means that we've had to pay for our own medical insurance. And it costs about $500 a month for the family coverage to get the dental and the extra medical insurance coverage. So companies,
Okay, thank you.
in terms of companies, if you're looking at jumping in, I know that there's Manulife is one of the biggest places here in Canada. And there are a few different health insurance companies, but if you start with Manulife, that might be a good place to start. Like TD Insurance, I think is the name of it. Toronto Dominion Bank is kind of the branch of that. So there's a couple places you might want to look online to start.
Sun Life?
Yeah, Sun Life would have some as well. That's a good one.
Maybe, you know, if we buy for 1 or 2 months before we have find such work with this insurance, or maybe it's impossible to buy for only for some months. And if maybe not everybody can give such insurance, or it's every company gives such insurance for family. And should we have both I and my husband work, and one gives for one child and another company gives for another child, or it's possible to get only one such offer
so
from one company, for maybe for me or for my husband?
So the way that coverage works is you get either an individual plan or a family plan. So if I was to get an individual plan, it would be just for me, or I pay for a family plan that covers me, my spouse, and all of my dependents. Now, if my wife and I both have a family plan, then things like orthodontics, if your kid has to get braces on their teeth, the plan that we have only covers half of the cost of the braces. So if I have a family plan, my plan would cover half, and then coordinating the benefits, my wife's plan would cover the other half. So it depends on what you plan on using. Like if you have 2 kids with really messed up teeth, then it might be worthwhile to get 2 family plans. But it's also a high cost, right? And if you get it through your company, most companies pay the lion's share of the premium, so it doesn't cost you much for that extra coverage for that family plan. So for instance, like as a teacher, Michelle's coverage only costs like $30 a month or something like that for the family plan. And my coverage is completely covered through my school board. So we obviously pick family plans for the both of us. It doesn't cost next to anything for us as an employee. The insurance companies are really slow. So if you were to arrive and apply for insurance, it might take you a month or a month and a half before they process the paperwork and put the insurance in place. So if you're only getting it for a couple of months, it might not be worth it, because the OHIP coverage, the basic Ontario Health Insurance Plan, will cover your emergencies in the hospital and stuff like that. If you're not planning to go to the dentist, if you can hold off for 3 months until you have a secure job and you're set up, that might be a better plan for you financially. But if you anticipate needing to do that, or if you have a child with medical needs that exceed the basics, like they might need massage or physiotherapy or something like that, those things wouldn't be covered by the provincial plan, and those would be needing the additional medical benefits.
As well as often medication costs would need additional benefits. Are there any medications that are covered by OHIP?
If you're a senior over 65 years old, the government covers most of the prescriptions right now. But if you're under 65, you have to pay for your prescriptions.
Okay, thank you.
And most medical benefits that workplaces will provide, medication is the top thing that they will cover. So they cover usually 95% or 100% of most medications. And then beyond that, how much physiotherapy you get and paramedical services will change.
Oh, good. Vlad put a link in for the how to get free dental coverage. That's fantastic.
Nice. Great. Did you already put this link in here?
Right.
for the.
No, I sent it to Vlad in a private link.
Yes, our private coverage was ended and limit exceeded, and we unexpectedly got a free service for our youngest daughter, just out from the blue sky.
There's another question. So there's two questions about real estate. The first one up here is what the best way of getting a place to rent without any credit history and no local job. So he's looking for advice on that one. The second one was about school ratings, if it's a big influence on real estate.
Okay, so the first question, what's the best way to rent without credit history and a local job? You're gonna have to find some pay stubs, possibly some bank statements, good references. So if there are other people who can vouch for your character or former employers who speak English, having those so that they can contact. If you have a guarantor, if you know a family member in Canada who's willing to sign on the lease with you, then that can be an option as well. And this is a situation where we haven't done it much. So it's gonna be a try and see and communicate openly with us how you find things are going. I can start reaching out as well to see what the thoughts are. But Kijiji and Facebook Marketplace, I feel like those avenues might be easier because it's not as regulated, and those are places where lots of landlords will post. So when we had a rental unit, we would post on Kijiji because to post it on the real estate board where houses are sold costs money for the landlord, and realtors, some of them will work with people to find rentals, but most people who are renting will be trying on Kijiji as well. So Kijiji and Facebook, you will find lots of places. So try both and see. So the answer is, as a
landlord,
we don't know.
When I have someone coming to me to rent a place, that's a realtor saying, I'm bringing this client. Typically, the client that they're bringing has a fairly long history and a good solid history of credit. So that's the advantage of working with a realtor. Or I have clients coming to me with a realtor that I know are vetted. They've been checked. We know they're going to have a good experience with us as a landlord. But relationship is going to be big in Kijiji, right? Reaching out, communicating, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to add some experience. I helped to move two families to Montreal several months ago before the war. So without so good a reputation as Ukrainians have now. And might say that landlords that I was talking with, all of them were willing to just provide me what you have, and I will rely on what you provided. They do not check that the pay stubs were provided by real banks. They do not call Ukrainian employers. They just check everything that you might provide. Maybe positive rating at Airbnb, maybe LinkedIn profiles with references, whatever you can provide. And in most cases, they are willing to rely on what they have and have some interview with you to understand that you are a real person that looks good enough. Canada is built on trust and on informal relations, and willing to trust and not willing to lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what Vlad said about having the interview in person, that will go a long way, because for us as landlords, we always want to meet the person compared to, and then, sometimes what you see on paper either backs it up or not. But if you can talk to them on the phone first and meet them. Now that's harder if you're out of country, but even meeting on Zoom, if you suggest, can we meet on Zoom? And they won't mind as much if you can't speak English, but do turn your cameras on if you're meeting with the interviewer for a tenancy. And then what was the other question?
Okay, so Max had a few questions for us. Max's question was about school ratings influencing real estate costs.
So most areas in Ottawa have good schools. There are only a couple, and I'll write the names in here. I think Vlad might share some of what's in the document afterwards. Did you make Vlad an editor of this one?
I made it available to all.
Okay. And
but yeah, real estate cost is affected by quality of schools. Like there's a ranking of schools, and real estate cost is affected for it, but more so for purchasing, not for renting. So people, when they buy a house, they want to be in the certain region of high performing schools. Now, standardized testing has been canceled for the last few years because of COVID. So some of the data is not available anymore to rank schools that way. So I don't think it'll play a big role in real estate at the moment. There was another question: how hard is it to register and get title? That's the purchasing process is quite, it's complicated, but when you work with a realtor, it's very easy for the buyer.
Yeah, in order to purchase, there are about 1% of houses in Ottawa that are negotiated through private sale, and 99% go through a realtor. And the advantage to you as a buyer is that, pardon?
He's talking about a car.
Oh, a car. Okay.
Okay, so a car is super easy. If you want to buy a car off of Kijiji, again, like a used marketplace, then you make a time to meet up with the person, you test drive the car, you take the car to a local mechanic to make sure it checks out, it's not broken. And then once you're ready to purchase, you arrange to exchange the funds, of course, doing that safely, right? And then on the back of the ownership, it's a document that comes with the car. The owner has to sign it